very pleased to be joined here at the anchor desk by Dr. Ben Carson. He is the author of One Nation, What We Can All Do to Save America's Future. Dr. Carson's also the co-founder and president of the Carson Scholars Fund and the chairman of the Save Our Healthcare Project. Dr. Carson, it is so good to have you here today. We
Always
really
good
appreciate
to be with
it.
you. Thank you.
You are more than a casual observer of the goings-on in Washington. What do you make of what is happening with this spending bill and all the crises that seem to be contained therein?
Well, you know, I really am a little bit surprised that the Republicans are not paying a little closer attention to their constituents and the message that they provided in the midterm elections. They said, please stop the craziness. They didn't say continue to go along to get along. And I'm glad that they didn't fund the program that would certainly facilitate the integration of people who are here illegally into our society, or at least that argument's going to be had in February. But I think everything should have been had in February. When you have your power, when you have your power base there, that's when you attack it. You don't allow the president's programs to take root so that it becomes much more difficult to dislodge them.
Now, when you're talking about attack, it's obvious there are certain people on the right, and specifically the Tea Party, who's going after some of their fellow Republicans saying, you need to grow a spine. That's what we've heard so much. In your opinion, then, when you look at what's happened here, who still needs to find the spine? As a doctor, I hope you can find it for them.
Well, I think conservatives, and I don't care if they're Democrats or Republicans, there are not many Democrats who are conservative, but there are some. They need to start thinking about what is good for our country, not what is good for their party, not what is good for their potential re-elections, and stop being afraid that somebody's going to blame you. You know, that may have been the case in the past, but I think enough Americans have awakened to the fact that if we continue down this program, we're going to destroy the future for those who are coming behind us.
Dr. Carson, so many people talk about bipartisanship, and it was a curious form of bipartisanship. Speaker Boehner, Harry Reid, President Obama on one side, Michelle Bachmann, and Nancy Pelosi on the others. What do you make of these temporary alliances?
Well, you know, they all have, you know, their reasons. Obviously, they're quite diametrically opposed in their philosophical endeavors. But we need to forget about that, and we need to say, how do we get America moving in the right direction again?
Okay, well, we got about 30, 40 seconds left before we take a break, so let's answer that question. In your opinion, how then do we move things forward and get off this dime?
Well, I think we have to make it clear to those who represent us that that's what they do. They represent us. We have a republic-type government. They don't rule us. They do what we want done.
Why don't they get that idea already? Didn't the midterms send that to them already, and shouldn't they know that?
Obviously, we're going to have to send that message even stronger. We, the people, are at the pinnacle of power here, and we need to make it very clear. People need to start writing letters. They need to get on the internet. They need to do what they need to do. Tell their representatives, grow a spine.
We're right back to the spine again. See, I knew we'd come back to medical somewhere as long as we're talking about it here.
And speaking of medicine, and the weird kind of political science where lawmakers and presidents are trying to practice medicine. Dr. Carson, when we come back, we're going to want to talk about Obamacare and specifically the curious case of Jonathan Gruber, what he had to say in days past, what he had to say on Capitol Hill, and what may be ahead there. And also we may have a question or two about 2016 and what you might be prescribing, as you've already diagnosed some problems here. That's coming up. Dr. Ben Carson with us here on this special edition of America's Forum. You stay with us too. We're coming back right here on Newsmax TV. Very intelligent gentleman joins us here in studio, Dr. Ben Carson. Dr. Carson, thanks for staying here with us through this second segment. Gruber's testimony, do you think his apology was sincere? And was he factually correct in his backtracking to talk about the positive aspects of Obamacare?
I guess the question is, was he lying then or is he lying now? But clearly there's lying going on here. And here's what I think is the important factor. We now know that deception was utilized to get this bill passed. Therefore, if there's any decency left in us as a nation, we should re-vote it. We should talk about it again and re-vote it. As Nancy Pelosi said, now that we know what's in it, you got to pass it to know what's in it. And it's not stuff that the people like. The majority of Americans are opposed to it. If we let this stand as it is, it sets a precedent that says whatever you can get through by hook or by crook, it's okay. That is not what America was supposed to be. People have got to stand up. I mean, if we allow these kinds of things to continue, the moral fabric of our nation completely erodes. We become something else completely.
Dr. Carson, I'm a very blunt speaker at times, and we are always dallying around here with various, well, you told a mistruth, there was a misspeak. Isn't it time for not only the American people, but for those who oppose Obamacare to come right out and say, Mr. Gruber, you lied. Mr. President, you lied. Stop telling lies. Just tell us the truth. We're not stupid. We're not idiots here.
Absolutely.
But when do we get to that point? And not only that, the media saying it over and over again. Use the word lie and get it out in the open.
Well, it clearly is a lie. And, you know, a lot of people criticize me for being blunt, but the fact of the matter is, this is America. Freedom of speech, freedom of expression. And let's not spend all of our time saying, but you said this and you said that. Instead, let's spend our time talking about what the point is. You know, we're peripheral people. We're not getting to the heart of the matter.
Well, the heart of the matter, actions speak louder than words. Dr. Carson, the Washington Times is reporting that you have a trip planned to Israel. Now, a lot of people visit Israel, but also a lot of potential presidential candidates go just prior to getting involved in a campaign. Is it yes to both?
Well, certainly, as I consider a run, Israel is an extremely important place to have a good pulse on. You know, we've all read a lot about it, we've all heard a lot about it, but if you haven't actually been there, experienced the culture, talked to the people, I think you're always going to have a little bit of a distorted impression. It's sort of like I had a lot of reporters who wanted to come into the operating room because, yeah, they heard about it, but it's a different thing when you're there. I remember one reporter actually fainted.
It doesn't surprise me, right?
When we talk about Israel and we talk about what the president is doing, there's a lot of discussion here that the president may be trying to get Benjamin Netanyahu out of office, maybe trying to pave that way to help him, to help the president. The possibility of sanctions against Israel. This is supposed to be one of our great allies and the cornerstone of a Middle East ally. Is the president then spitting on this relationship? Is he basically doing everything he can to anger Israel? And why do you think he would do that?
Well, I don't get the impression that Israel feels that we are their solid ally anymore. And one of the reasons that that is so problematic is because if we can't support them, what are our other allies thinking? You know, we have to really think about these ramifications. And at some point, we have to lead. We have to have an actual foreign policy that is proactive, that is not just reactive to what's going on. You know, look at the things that Putin is doing. Are we doing anything to stop him? Of course not.
And with less than a minute, with the diagnosis and the call to lead, when will you be prepared? Are you prepared today to formally discuss entering the race for the presidency?
Yes, I'm prepared to tell you that I am considering it very seriously, and I will make an announcement by May the 1st.
Fair enough. May the 1st, we hope you come back here to make it too, Dr. Carson.
Writing that down right now on the prescription
Absolutely.
pad, May 1st.
We're going to get out the day planner, put it in on the calendar. Hey, listen, you can get your copy of Dr. Carson's New York Times #1 best-selling book, One Nation, What We Can All Do to Save America's Future. Or go to newsmax.com/Ben to get your free copy. And be sure to watch the documentary tonight on Newsmax TV, 9 o'clock Eastern. Dr. Ben Carson, A Breath of Fresh Air.